I'm going to share with you guys some of the craziest sports card finds over the past few years. I'm talking stuff in attics, stuff randomly inserted into books. This is the reason I'm in the hobby, the treasure hunting aspect of it. So I think these stories are so cool and they really inspire me and honestly give me hope that someday I might find some cool stuff in a trailer or attic too. All right, let's talk about the Arizona find. Found by two brothers. Their dad passed away. Inside the safety deposit box was this massive shoebox full of exceptionally old baseball cards. There were 800 Goudeys and I believe 600 1933 Goudeys, something along the lines of 12 Babe Ruths and 8 Lou Gehrig's. So just a ridiculous collection. Again, it was sitting in a safety deposit box for decades. They uncovered it, they found it, and ultimately broke it up and kind of sold it to a collector. But I mean, this find is crazy. None of these cards are in, mint condition or anything like that, but just the sheer volume of this discovery is pretty nuts. So again, someday I'm keeping up hope that I crack open a safety deposit box myself and find something awesome like this inside. All right, this next one is the South Dakota find, and it doesn't match the volume of the Arizona find, but the quality of the cards is substantial. So this just came from an old collector out in South Dakota. He inherited these cards from a family member that passed away. They've been held in the family for decades. And ultimately, it was a set of baseball cards. One of the 1952 Topps mantles from this find got a PSA 7. The other one got a 2. And then there was a Jackie Robinson 1952 Topps as well. Roy Campanella, Pee Wee Reese, ton of other cards. But, this isn't multi-million dollars, but this is certainly a few $100,000 to $500,000. And I think that this is a pretty amazing find. I mean, imagine just like, somebody passes away, you're totally bummed out, but then you go in their safety deposit box and you just find like a treasure like this. It's wild. All right, here's another cool one. We'll call this the Pennsylvania find. So this came from Allentown, Pennsylvania. This guy's uncle passed away and they were cleaning out the home. The attic had toys from the 1950s, World War II gear, and 2 boxes of trading cards. And, it was literally just like a pile of stuff that the father had collected over a lifetime, really. And in this box, there was about 650 cards. About 400 were baseball, which included like Jackie Robinson and Roy Campanella rookie cards and early 1950s Bowman and tons of other Hall of Famers. No mantles, but there were about 100 1950 Bowman football cards as well, which is pretty cool. I think the uncle or the father that passed away was also a boxer, so there was like 100 cards from really old boxing sets back in the day, some Jack Johnson cards, and a near complete set of T220s, which is pretty awesome because I never really hear about those very much. And a lot of non-sports cards, so really, really cool. Again, this find isn't going to be multi-million dollars, but again, it's like a few $100,000, and it's pretty crazy that this was found in an attic. What scares me the most about all of these is that the person that doesn't think about the value of the cards, they're emotional, they're cleaning out the attic, someone passed away, and they're just like, these can't be worth anything, and they end up in the trash. That scares me, especially as a vintage collector and a vintage autograph collector. I know rare stuff is getting thrown out, and man, I hope people can find it before it does. This one's actually the coolest story. It's a 1917 Babe Ruth card that was found inside a memory book. So what happened was way back in the day, there was a first date, and this guy, Walter Stivers, and Lillian Glenn had dinner. They went out to the movies in the 1920s, and he actually gave her a baseball card of Ruth. I have a lot of respect for that, by the way. It's pretty awesome. Back in the 20s, just like, hey, here's a baseball card, but I think that was the thing to do. So she put it inside this memory book, in the 1920s, completely forgot about the thing. And there's even like a notation under the card that talks about their engagement announcement. And, they eventually got married. And the story gets kind of crazy and tragic, to be honest. So they were happily married. And unfortunately, the wife, she was doing laundry at one of those old school outdoor laundry things back in the day. She had an asthma attack, fell into it, and drowned. And so this book became a really important memory of their relationship because it was like a card given almost on their first date. There was inscriptions around their engagement. The card was forgotten about for decades until COVID happened and people started realizing cards were valuable and thinking about cards more. And out came the card out of the book, and they graded it. It became a PSA 2.5. Wild story. All right, this one's almost an honorable mention. It's just silly. So this lady was just buying an investment property and decided to renovate it. The walls were dated and decided to smash them open. And what did she find when she smashed open the walls? A glorious wall full of junk wax cards glued from bottom to top. Amazing, right? Obviously not a ton of value there, but it gets even better. She tracked down who owned the house, the previous owners, and brought the kid who did that inside to have a look at it, which is pretty wild. So it's just funny. I mean, imagine just renovating a house and you run into, I don't know, some PMGs glued to the wall. That would be really sad. But I thought this is pretty funny. An entire wall of baseball cards, because you have to admit, as a kid, we all wanted to do that. Our parents just didn't let us. Well, this one's parents let them, and it's still there. I think they might keep it intact. We'll see. This one takes the cake. It's the Lucky 7 find. These were a stash of 7 very, very expensive and rare Ty Cobb back T206 cards, which is insane. These were sitting in the family's possession for over 100 years, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. They knew that the great-grandfather was into tobacco back then, and he owned a cigar shop, and this case had just been handed down and stashed away. And I think in 2012, the family saw a documentary about another card find, some kind of swamp find or something like that. That prompted them to realize the value of these cards. They got an auction house involved and then ultimately sold those 7 cards for $3 million. But the story gets even crazier. So this family ended up finding an 8th card very recently, I think in 2018 or 19. And they got together and decided that they wanted to keep this one as sort of a memento to the relative that passed away and kind of honor his legacy. But this is wild. It makes me wonder, is there another cigar shop owner somewhere that's got a box of these? It makes me want to look up every cigar shop that's ever existed in the 1920s and find their families. And I'm not joking. Like, put a spreadsheet together and just travel the country and try to find somebody with, some Wagners casually sitting in their attic. So, man, that's crazy. Let me know in the comments which find is the most interesting one to you. It's not all about the money. I mean, obviously the junk wax wall was pretty crazy, but I'd love to hear which story resonated with you the most. For me, it was the story of the husband who's, got married and gave that card on their first date. And then the wife passed away tragically halfway through their marriage, still holding on to the card and that memory book. That kind of got me, as a married man. But let me know what resonated with you guys, and I'll keep more stuff like this coming. So hit that subscribe button. Hope you enjoyed it.